So I've never made a TikTok, and it's going to be very obvious, but I do want to make it known. Our story. On May 4th of 2023, my 16-year-old son was chased by a Raleigh County off-duty deputy on his dirt bike. He was chased down for nearly 2 miles and was bumped, wrecked, and scared to death. Had to hide his bike and run into the woods. He then called me, and I, of course, went to go find him. When I went to go find him, I come across said sheriff's officer who is off duty, and he proceeded to tell me that he had not seen a kid on a dirt bike, even though I had not asked him if he had seen a kid on a dirt bike. I asked him if he had seen my kid. He then proceeded to tell me that no, he was just out drinking with his buddies. So he was drinking and driving. That's number one, right? We then let him go because, I mean, obviously we can't, I'm focused on my son. I'm trying to get to my son. He's crying. He's in the woods. He's hiding from someone. That fits this description, but I'm finding my son. I go find my son. He, as soon as he sees me, vomits everywhere and is scared. We then proceeded to allow my fiance, Brandon, to get Tanner's bike out of the woods, and Tanner rode with me and Brandon rode the bike. We called 911, Raleigh County 911, 3 times, and were told that they refused to transfer us to anyone. And we later find out that's because we messed up and said that it involved a police officer, off-duty police officer. I also called the state troopers directly and was told that Raleigh County handles their own and to call them. So when we called Raleigh County, they said that we needed to speak to his boss, just like 911 had told us. We needed to call said police officer's boss and make a complaint. We went up to, after speaking to his lieutenant on the phone, which I am going to insert clips so you can hear what was said to us.
What he's done, curious to what he's done this time, but
we were told that this is not the first time that this officer has been involved in things. And further on, we did our own investigation and found that this is definitely not his first time. There are lots and lots and lots of complaints on this guy. And we have a problem.
Talk to him. I'm gonna let internal affairs. I'm tired of talking to that.
To captain, and he'll assign it to an internal affairs guy, and they'll investigate it.
Okay.
I mean, I know y'all know this is not the first time, so.
Yeah. Like I said before, we had called the state troopers, and they said Raleigh County handles their own. We go down. We interview with his lieutenant. We tell him everything that's going on. We are quickly made aware that this is not his first time, and we proceed to make our complaint. After we are done making said complaint, then the officers laughed, saying that they had 2 extra complaints, that they were just going to leave it on the desk in case some other jackass decided to be retarded. Now, this was Thursday night when we went in. Friday, he said we should hear something. We didn't hear anything. Saturday, Sunday. Well, I started making Facebook Lives. Explain the situation. Suddenly, we have a detective or sergeant or somebody come out. His name is Officer Williams. Later on, I do find clips of Officer Williams on TikTok. Under Raleigh County, Beckley, West Virginia, violating other people's civil rights.
I'm walking up.
I got a civil paper for you. You live right there?
I'm walking up the
You got an ID on you?
For what?
What is your name?
Why?
Because I have a civil paper to serve whoever lives at this residence you walked out of.
You just pulled me over.
You got anything?
Don't touch me.
Sir, don't make it what
I'm
it is.
not doing nothing. Why are you touching me?
This officer rides with Brandon and Tanner. They ride around. They show him everywhere that they went. He says he's having a hard time seeing anything. Well, sir, that's because you're 5 days after the investigation should have started and 911 should have responded and you should have already investigated. It's already rained for 2 or 3 days straight and people have mowed their grass. You can't see the marks because my son was chased so hard that he had to go through people's yards. And there were witnesses. This comes into play later. Here, the road that come through here. Right here is where they started chasing him. You can see they skid. We then have another detective call us, and he went by detective. Now, I don't know who Mr. Williams was or if he was the initial contact for internal affairs or what the deal was, but then we had a Corey Suman call us, and he proceeded to tell us that he had been out there investigating and that the only people that had ring cameras, their ring camera just happened to not be working on just that day. Following that conversation, we then go to the state troopers because Mr. Williams had told us that they would be the ones to criminally investigate an off-duty police officer because this is their unit and we needed to report it. Upon arriving to the state troopers, it's like next to the DMV here in Beckley. We couldn't get in, so we called and we were on hold for what seemed like forever. And they finally got us in touch with someone. Well, actually, a state trooper pulled up to us and then we were escorted into the building where we were met by another state trooper. And I'm inserting clips. I hope I do this right. If not, I'll do them at the end and you'll better understand. During this interview, we were told, see, the state troopers haven't heard anything about this, right? At all. This is what we were told. He didn't know Mr. Parks. He doesn't know anything about the situation. Yet, in said conversation, I recorded him saying, and I quote, "We have witnesses too." How do you have witnesses? Much admitted this has happened.
We have some witnesses too. I didn't know you talked about that.
Oh, no. We're here to report this. Like, how do you have witnesses? Already. Like, so they had already spoken to Raleigh County Sheriff's Office. It's blatantly clear. I mean, just by his statements. And also during this interaction, he also told us that it's very serious when we're messing with a man's livelihood. Well, I agree with them. Our livelihood has been completely turned upside down. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, and to take someone's livelihood is a big deal too.
My son's dealing with bullying. I'm dealing with online people because I'm posting live updates to my Facebook. My name is Jennifer Santana Rivas on Facebook if you want to look me up, and you can go all the way back and you can listen to everything so that you get a full understanding as to what we are dealing with. Flash forward 2 days ago, another state trooper shows up. He is telling us that he is investigating criminally Mr. Adam Parks. Okay, cool, awesome. This is what we wanted, right? So we go to meet the state trooper to show him where the witnesses that we found were, and then he went around to some more. He then stated that he was related to some people in another town called Coal City, West Virginia. And the same people are related to the lieutenant whom I reported the officer to. This state trooper proceeds to tell us that the first state trooper who had told us that they had witnesses had written a bunch of gibberish onto a half a sheet of paper and he would have to pull his body cam. Good with me because what I have in recordings is what he's going to listen to, right? Hopefully he hears and sees what we see. This is nothing but a cover-up from state police to Raleigh County Sheriff's Office to Raleigh County 911, whom didn't respond to 3 manic 911 calls, didn't send anybody out at all to check, to even investigate, to see if this man was drunk, to see if he was inebriated, to see if my son was okay. So after we have spoken to the second state trooper who is investigating, we noticed that the police officer, off-duty police officer that chased my son, he is our neighbor, is moving a bunch of stuff out of his house and moving it over to his girlfriend's house. We don't know why yet, but we're going to find out. So we're dealing with state troopers who haven't even investigated yet but have witnesses. hasn't talked to Raleigh